it's Christmas Eve, and that means it's time for a ghost story.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Hi guys, so first things, you'll notice I've turned the lights off, and that is because they are on a random cycle thing where they do strange things. They twinkle, they do like chain effect, and they do flash a little bit. And you know, I have friends that have brought to attention the risk of, you know, the flashing lights can have on some people, so I have turned them off. I'm going to have to put my glasses on so I can read. You would think by now I would like to have memorised all my books, but I haven't. I'm going to... Is that my new bookmark? This is Care of Phoenix. Handmade books and leather goods. I will put a link down below to their page. He creates some of the most fabulous things. And I'm going to read a story out of my copy of Voices Across the Void, my collection of ghost stories. And this also will tie in with my Patreon that's coming up, which you will be hearing more about very, very soon. So I'm going to read The Hospital. It's one I haven't really done before. So I hope you enjoy it. I should not be here. I was supposed to go, but you held me here. Now I am waiting for you. I saw the light, so warm and inviting. Beyond it, the most wonderful garden that I longed to step forward into. I tried to move forward, but your love held me. I was not bitter, just incredibly sad as the light faded and I remained. I look over at you from where I stand in the corner of the room as you sit by the bed, clinging to the shell that lies there. You speak so softly, so longingly, to a body which I used to inhabit. I try to move away, to walk from the room. At the doorway I meet resistance and can move no further. If I push against it, I can force my head through the door to look into the corridor beyond. Out there life continues. People rush to and fro, some living, some like me trapped here. Neither the living or the dead pay me any heed as I withdraw back to your vigil by my bedside. I move beside you as you lean... Sorry. I can hear the dog coming down the stairs and he's got to barge into the living room and knock everything flying. But, sorry. Where was I? I move behind you as you lean against the bed, your head grazing against the thin sheets that you have pulled right up to my neck in an attempt to hide the tangle of wires that monitor and sustain. I can hear your sobs and your pleas, but I cannot fulfill your request and return to you. The body you hold is too badly damaged for me to re-enter it. It is strange I look at myself, or rather the body which held me, contained me, and I feel nothing, no emotion attached to it or its loss. I think of all the wasted time I spent trying to get it in shape, keeping it trim, preening, plucking, bronzing, and for what? So that when my final journey began I could look down at it, observing for how a few seconds could change it beyond recognition, and that in the end understand, ultimately, it meant nothing. I remember when we first met, we were both young and carefree. I want to reach out and touch your face. I want to let my fingers trace the contours of 1,000 tiny lines created by the tears and laughter of a long and happy life. I want so badly to wipe away the tears that run in rivulets down the wrinkles that line your cheeks. I remember when you first asked me out. You were so hesitant, expecting rejection, but daring to ask anyway. How I loved you for that. Now, as I look at you, I see that same look in your eyes, the longing mixed with resignation. I wish I could make this easier for you. Take away the pain. Soothe your fears as you have mine down the years. Activity in the doorway draws my attention. The children have arrived. Our daughter burst into the room, always so much energy to be contained within her, manifesting itself in a whirlwind that seems to accompany her every movement. I watch helpless as she fires question after question at you, not allowing you time to answer, though if she did allow it, it would be worse for all at this time. They would not be the answers she wants to hear. It would take away her ability to deny what she knows in her heart. Our son follows a few minutes behind. He, of course, has taken the time to gather the facts from the staff. He looks at you, and for a moment I fear for you that he will confront you, but he does not. It is almost as if he senses that to do so would be to start a chain reaction which can never be stopped. The doctor joins you all now. The small room is filled with life and grief. I feel the outsider surrounded by my own family, and though I no longer take up any space, I back into a corner to make myself smaller. The doctor is once again explaining that what they can see, the signs of life, breathing, a pulse, are false, created only by machines. You shake your head, refusing to accept it. Our daughter now dramatically throws herself down to her knees, clutching the hand that you hold. She is begging you to see sense and turn the machines off. The more she pleads, the more you resist. Her brother pulls her away, calming her down as he has so many times over the years. It's a strange relationship they share. Polar opposites, yet the bond of twins tying them to each other in some inexplicable way that even we struggle to understand. Ours in some ways has always been a house of opposites. You and I, the twin and the twins, two pairs that understood and complemented each other perfectly, yet to the outside world appeared strange combinations. It is his turn to try and reason with you now. He is so much like you, quiet, patient and so calm. Few others could see the qualities you share, the fierce protectiveness and the deep passions which burn hidden deep within inside. He challenges you, turn the machines off, see what happens. If I am there, then I won't stop breathing. Of course he knows I am no longer there, and he knows deep down so do you. You don't look at him, just shake your head, daring him silently to say what is on all your minds. It isn't your fault. I know it, and so do you. And once they hear all the facts, have time to consider everything, they will know it too. They had been questioning whether you should still be driving for months. We all had. Maybe they were right that your reaction times were slower since the stroke. But if everyone drove as well as you, there would never have been an issue. Even if you had been at your fastest, you could not have stopped what happened. You could not have stopped a teenager in a stolen car pulling straight out in front of you. There was nowhere else to go, no avoiding the impact. They told you that it was a miracle that you had survived, as if that should give you comfort. Instead, I know it only adds to your pain. You think you should be with me at the very least, or have traded places with me. All those travelling in the other car were killed. The two in front against the dashboard and windscreen killed in their seats, and the one sat in the rear killed me. Part of me is glad. That is unfair of me, and I don't really feel anger towards them, but there is bitterness. Yes, there is a definite bitterness that their actions brought us all here. That their choices squandered the precious lives we all held, and caused pain to those who loved us. Maybe I realised more than they ever could have, that their families will suffer just as you do. The boy in the back was not wearing a seatbelt. When the cars collided, he flew in the air. The bonnet had already crumpled as the cars melded into one another. As he flew out one windscreen, he slammed into the other, shattering it. 1,000 diamond-like fragments filled my lap before he followed. I was slammed back into my seat, ribs crushed and punctured, other internal organs lacerated. Looking down now, I can see the myriad of tiny scratches covering my face and neck where the glass showered down on me. Wounds that will never become scars. A random thought passes through my mind about how much makeup it will take to cover them. My friends and I had joked about those who wore their makeup like camouflage, trying to hide the years. And I hope you will opt for a closed casket and save me that final embarrassment. I laugh and my hand flies to my mouth. Then I freeze. At first scared I will have been heard. I was always the one guilty of inappropriate responses. Then I realise not only can you not hear me, but the sound didn't even come from my mouth. I know I still retain a shadow of the physical body that I've spent so many years living in, but I'm becoming aware that I'm not restricted by it any longer. I'm so much more. The doctor has left and the three of you sit surrounding the bed in an uneasy silence. Our daughter fidgeting in her seat, unable to keep still. You with tears still flowing, eyes fixed upon mine, desperate for signs of life. And our son, I know mentally, is compiling a checklist of phone calls to be made, people to be notified, things that must be done. Of all of you, he is the one I worry about least. He will not show his grief publicly, but he will do it privately while maintaining the calm exterior required to deal with the formalities. I know you will fall apart for a while at least, and our daughter will become the mother to the man who bounced her on his knee. I know that the strain this will place upon your relationship, that you will not appreciate her fussing and clucking. She will do it all the more trying to make things right and compensate, all the while avoiding dealing with her own feelings. I know all this and I am powerless to make it different. And I know how it will be because I know your natures, and things can be no other way. I realise I am viewing this scene with detachment. That is not to say I do not love you all, as much as I did before the world was ripped away. But that a serenity has settled upon me. I can see it all and feel the love radiating within the room, reminiscent of the way the sun's rays warmed the kitchen each morning as I boiled the kettle for the first coffee of the day. I am content. And I know I should feel guilty for these feelings when you are all hurting so badly. But I know you would not want me to share your pain. More doctors come in, and there is much discussion in hushed tones. I can guess from what has happened from your reaction. When we signed the donor register, I don't think either of us really considered they would find anything usable by the time old age had ravaged us. And if I am honest, I'm shocked they can find anything useful now. I know they have asked you the question. I feel angry on your behalf. I understand time is of the essence, but they know you have not yet accepted my loss. Maybe they thought this would bring it home, but you are vehement in your protests, and our son calms the storm once more. I know he's telling them that you need more time, and that as a family they of course want to follow my wishes, but they need to understand more time is needed. Always more time. The one thing I no longer have. Maury said in whispers directly to our son, so that you do not hear. I watch his face drain as the realisation of the situation hits him. They cannot just turn off the machines and leave me to go, to allow you to stay by my side. The minute I flatline, the organs must be harvested for the best chance of success. No lingering goodbyes for us. Clinical realities must take precedence. My son is torn between two parents now. How to respect the wishes of one while allowing the other the closure they need. How I long to wrap my arm around my boy. He has moved and stands now by the door, looking over at where you sit by my side. And he looks so small and defeated, like a child once more. My child who needs me, though I would never admit it. I see the shutters come down behind his eyes, his defence mechanism that makes him this one strong enough to face what is to come. He announces they should leave, he and his sister, and that they will allow you a few hours alone with me, and that when they return they will discuss what is to be done. For a moment I think you will argue, demand an explanation of his words, but I see the resignation in your eyes. Though in your heart you do not believe you can be persuaded, could never accept defeat so easily. Our daughter presses her lips to your cheek and her tears leave a trail down your face as they mingle with yours. Next, a stiff, awkward embrace with our son, neither of you comfortable with each other. Then they leave. The walls you are fighting so hard to preserve come crashing down. You collapse on the bed, clutching the hand nearest you, desperately squeezing, hoping for a response that cannot come. For one brief minute, I do consider it. I try to draw near to the body which I so recently left, but I can already smell the beginning of decay. A sweet, sickly smell as flesh yields to death, and I know there is no returning. I want to reach out and comfort you. As I try, my hands pass through you, and for a fleeting moment you shudder, and I believe you felt me. I cannot stand and watch you in pain, unable to give solace or comfort. I look around like an animal cornered, searching for escape, and before I know it I am out in the corridor. I have no concept of movement. I merely wished to be gone from the room, and I was. This is a new development, and I marvel at the speed which these new experiences are happening. Earlier it had required effort just to reach the door, and I had moved as if I was still limited by the flesh. Now I begin to understand that the only thing holding me back is what would previously have been known as my imagination. I am beginning to realise the freedom I have now, without the cumbersome body restricting me, although I am not totally free. Like a child in the womb, I am tethered to my flesh by an invisible umbilical cord. It binds me, but it is not to my flesh that nourishes it. It is not my flesh that nourishes it. Rather, it is you, or more correctly, your love, which feeds it and holds me in place. I look round now and I see I am not alone. The corridor is filled up with the living. They dash back and forth, salvaging the damage, patching them up, repairing the fragile bodies as best they can. It strikes me suddenly. I had never thought before of the body as so easily broken. I had always thought of it in its terms of resilience and healing abilities, as a vessel for giving life, not one emptied of it. But before I had any chance to dwell on this, it is the dead who demand my attention. They pass amongst the living, some different in death as they were in life. Some wander lost, seemingly unaware of where they are or what has become of them. Others bluster and rush around. I notice the shivers of living people as these spirits pass by. I consider the choice of word. What is it I am now? A spirit or a ghost? Is there a difference? When the bond of the flesh is finally severed and I can leave, will I be able to return? Will I be able to watch over you? Or will I be trapped here wandering these corridors? Questions suddenly overwhelm me and a sense of panic descends. I turn away from the others as if by banishing them from my sight my worries will disappear alongside them, but the anxiety continues to build. Then I see her. Her smile lights up her face just as I remember, and though she looks younger than I ever saw her, I am calmed by her presence. My mother embraces me. Though the word does not really convey the action or the depth of moment, she has come to wait with me, to take me home with her when the time comes, to help me adjust to this new reality. And I realised that I no longer need to ask questions. A simple thought is enough to bring total understanding. Calmed now by my mother's presence, I can truly begin to appreciate the situation I am in. I watch as others appear, as whether they've just passed, or it is that I have only just become aware of them. I cannot be sure, but it does not matter. The probability is that it is a mix of both. Some seek out the living, frantically trying to gain their attention, occasionally, very occasionally succeeding. There is a woman, probably about my own age. She looks directly at me and smiles. I look round behind me to see who else the smile could be aimed at, but behind me there is just a blank wall. My mother smiles back at me and nods before explaining to me that there are those who can see and communicate with spirits. I feel something akin to guilt for all the times I dismissed those who made such claims as charlatans. A small child wanders in and approaches a young couple sat nervously fidgeting in the corner. They pay the child no attention, and I am indignant for her before it becomes clear that they cannot see her. The child is crying now. My heart is breaking for her. I cannot imagine the confusion the child must be feeling, unable to comprehend what is happening. I instinctively move forward to go to her, but my own mother holds me back. Just as I am about to protest, a woman appears next to the child. An older woman, and I assume the grandmother, and she hurries the child away, back the way she came. My mother whispers that it was not her time yet. A short while later, a man in scrubs approached them. The surgeon, I guessed. Concern, pain, and then relief all show on their faces as he recounts their near loss. I wish there was some way to give my family the same relief, but it is beyond science as much as it is beyond their prayers. We wander around the hospital. I have no idea of the passing of time in conventional terms, but I do know that the morning is approaching by the red glow of the sunrise on the horizon. I know this is the last I will see from this side. I have a great desire to be by your side for the start of this final day of our life together. Well, this chapter of our life at least. I have no doubt when your time comes I shall be allowed to return to greet you. When I enter the room you are asleep, with your head on the bed. Your eyes are still puffy from the tears, but other than that you look at peace. And I hate that you will have to wake to the pain once again. My mother, who has always loved you like a son, approaches you and lays her hand on your forehead. You seem to stir a little in your sleep, and a smile half forms on your lips, giving away the fact that she has just communicated with you in some way. It is, in fact, her way of showing me how I can say my goodbye. Sorry, I just have to wait for the clock to stop. Quite ironic, actually, chiming of a clock as we near the end of the story. I don't know how much of this you can hear on the actual thing. I step forward now and take her place, but rather than a hand, it is my lips I press to your warm flesh, wishing I could kiss away the frown lines that have embedded themselves over the last few hours. Then we are together, stood at home in our garden, bathed by the sun as it rises over the trees. We are telling each other everything we know and never express. How much we love each other, how good the life we had was. I am telling you that it is okay to let me go, that I need you to do it for both our sakes. I tell you I will be waiting, I will always be waiting. But there is no rush, time means nothing to me. I only need to know that he will go on until it is his time. That he will not try to find me before then. I feel a weight lift from you. I know now that you can face what you must do. The garden fades as you open your eyes and look around you. You look towards where I lie and smile. Then I stand beside you as you pick up your mobile and text the children to return as soon as they can. It is only a little while later when they both rush in. They are worried by your message and have spoken to each other already. They had arrived to find some change in my condition upon their arrival and are confused that nothing has changed. You explain your dream to them, our meeting in the garden, though you keep much of it to yourself. You allow them time to process what you are saying, reassure them that you can handle this now, before you call for the doctors and tell them it's time. Forms are placed in front of you and you sign them, not without hesitation, but you look out on the sunshine and write your name on the lines marked with crosses. Then the doctors, assisted by 2 nurses, remove first the drips, then the monitors, and finally the tubes from down my throat. Then the nurses leave and the doctor steps back in to allow you to say your goodbyes before he steps into action. One by one you step forward. You press your lips against my pale face and you hold my hands looking for the sign of a rise and fall of a chest that no longer moved by a machine. A last fragile hope for a miracle we know is not coming. Our children stand either side of you now, tears running down your faces. The sun chooses that moment to flood the room. The light and warmth embrace you in my place. All 3 of you smile through your pain. The light has appeared now, and my mother has stepped through, gesturing for me to join her. I am torn between the people I love, but know our parting is only temporary. I look over my shoulder at my beautiful children and my soulmate as they wrap their arms around each other, a family united in grief. Then I step forward and feel the warmth of a new sun and begin my waiting. So, that was The Hospital, and it's not a spooky ghost story, but it is a ghost story. Okay, take care. I'll see you all later.